has been exhibited in holding Rigathi Gachagua out of office. If this efficiency was being exhibited in the management of the affairs of this country, Kenyans will be very happy. What is the hurry? The framers of the Constitution gave the president 14 days to look for somebody to replace the deputy president. It gave Parliament another 60 days. That's a total of 74 days. Why is a job that was prescribed by the framers of the Constitution to be done within 74 days is being done in half a day? You must ask yourself that question. I think it's being hurried to circumvent justice to avoid the courts of law from interrogating this matter and making a decision.
Right, that is the impeached deputy president speaking there after leaving a Karen hospital. And Senator Manzo, I see you were there as well as Mheshimiwa Njeri here. And there has been questions being raised, even as he says, about that process of reducing what would be 74 days to just half a day. But also the Speaker of the National Assembly said that it is within. So the first day is also within 14 days. The first day is also within 60 days. So doesn't that defeat the argument?
No, well, you see, what the government wanted to do is to swear in the new proposed deputy president with immediate effect, as early as Friday. That's why they went to court on Saturday in an effort to lift the court orders from one judge to 3 judges and get him sworn so that by 20th there is a deputy president. I want to say that the Constitution is very clear. In the event there is no deputy president, and by some bad luck there is no president, the Speaker does that job. So there is no need to be in a hurry and to... You see, the court order issued by the judge on Friday can only be overturned at Court of Appeal. It cannot be overturned by another constitutional court, which had been requested by Gachagua's team to be constituted. And as soon as it is constituted, who appears before that constitutional court? The Attorney General, not the lawyers of Gachagua, and they were not even notified. So what the Attorney General expected that day was these 3 to become an appeal against the one judge, which is not the real thing, and then set aside the order, and immediately it is set aside. Then, of course, the moment a new DP is sworn, then all the court cases are overtaken by events, and you'll be following up an exercise in futility. So that shows bad faith, ill will, and it's an effort to defeat justice. You saw that on Friday when there was a special city, which was earlier on. In fact, I don't remember ever the Parliament ever sitting on a Friday. It's never happened. So they arrange, and quickly the president brings in the name of a new proposed deputy president, and avoids the Election Act conveniently. You know, Speaker Wetangula is a very senior lawyer, extremely brilliant, very familiar with election law, and is somebody, in fact, qualified also to be Chief Justice. But he conveniently avoids and charters a path which eventually becomes unconstitutional in an effort to replace.
What do you mean he avoided the Elections Act?
Yes, in his communication, he never quoted the election. The Election Act requires the nomination of a new deputy president to be done by IBC. They know very well we have no IBC in the country, there are no commissioners. And in fact, the returning officer for the presidential ticket is the chairperson of IBC. So in fact, if you are to follow the law...
Isn't that in a situation where you have an election, that you have a presidential candidate and a running mate? You didn't have an election of a president, did you? According
to Professor Kivuza Kibwana, this is at the election of a deputy president. And therefore, when you are dealing with that, it follows exactly. The de-election is replaced in a similar manner as if you are dealing with an election. In fact, the law says elect. You know, Parliament... Parliament elects the new DP.
Which Parliament are you reading?
Sorry?
Which part are you reading?
You know, if you look at the Election Act and and even the Constitution,
yep.
you see what happens is, and that was from his communication, Parliament is to elect. In fact, the National Assembly will elect. And not only that, it is elected constituency per constituency. You remember on the floor of the House on Friday, Honorable Wajala said we must move very fast, and why don't we have acclamation? And then also Honorable Otiende Omolo said, I am aware they are in court, and before we are served by any court order, can we quickly pass this? And then the Speaker went on to rule. The Speaker is very smart and said, you know, this, it must be one by one person. What they missed out is it can only be done constituency by constituency. So each member of a constituency must follow. That is the law.
So what happens to the members that represent counties, like minor?
And unfortunately, in that particular election, it must be by constituency. And this is a very...
Which part are you reading of the law? Because when I look at Article 149 of the Constitution, within 14 days after a vacancy in the office of the Deputy President arises, the President shall nominate a person to fill the vacancy, and the National Assembly shall vote on the nomination within 60 days after receiving it. Now,
you remember the Speaker's communication on election of Yela members. And also when now you go to the Election Act, and there's I think Article 101 on how, on the election of the President. You now go back to the election of the President. The election of the President and the election of Deputy President is one. So the moment there is a vacancy...
That is where you have a general election or a national election, isn't it?
The moment you have a general... you know, at the end of it is an election.
Yeah, but this is a vote. The Constitution is talking about a vote.
And it's an election by the National Assembly. Each must elect.
So who was the returning officer of this election at the National Assembly?
At that particular moment, it's the clerk of the National Assembly.
So where,
but the person to
where
forward...
does ABC come in?
The person to, from the Election Act, the person to forward or to clear. Because if you are a candidate of election to be by Parliament, to be a Deputy President, then you must be cleared by IBC. And in fact, the same qualifications of an election of a Deputy President in a national election applies to you. So why are you reading that,
Senator?
It applies, and I'm very sure in...
the clearance by IBC, why are you reading it?
It's the Election Act. You must be declared by... You must be cleared by IBC to show that you are fit.
In a presidential election, isn't it?
But this is a presidential election and a deputy presidential election.
Okay,
it's one and the same.
I'll come back to you.
But I want to to say that this is a totally uncharted ground.
All right.
I am very happy there are court cases pending in the constitutional courts. The Constitution is going to be interpreted as to what is the correct procedure of replacing. The president is clear because immediately the deputy president. Immediately you don't have the president, the deputy president ascends. Right. And therefore you must now elect a new deputy. President.
Okay, all right. Senator Mungatan, you wanted to say something before I can get to...
Yeah, I actually like Honorable Manzo. He's a good man. And he is also our chairman of the Christian Union. I keep reminding him. So every time I engage with him, I try to restrain so that he can also make prayers for me. The good ones, the good prayers. So I on this particular one, I'm not in agreement with him because the processes of removing a deputy president or a president through impeachment are in paramateria with the processes of removing a deputy governor.
What did you just say?
I mean,
for the sake of honorable question myself.
They're similar in terms of the processes of removing the deputy president and the president through impeachment are similar with the processes of removing a deputy governor and a governor.
Right.
So deputy governors have been removed from this country, and I think the latest one was even when someone just resigned was in Gishu County. Governor Kotimoja actually made the announcement that my deputy governor has accepted another job, another place. So he started the processes of getting another deputy governor. And the process is very simple. It is not an election. Everyone knows. So you just send the name to the assembly, and the assembly approves, and you appoint. Now, trying to bring these arguments about election at this point, he knows. I mean, and you know, us lawyers, we speak for the client. So I am 100% sure if Honorable Manzo was on the other side, he would speak what I'm saying. You know, that is a problem with law. You are speaking what your clients want according to your instruction. The instructions these lawyers were given on the side of the Honorable His Excellency ex-Deputy President was that let us fight to the end. Let us just fight, irrespective of whether it's making sense, doesn't make sense. Let's just fight. So they are carrying out instructions. Now, if you tell me as an advocate of the High Court that let us fight, then I will look for every possible something that I can raise, whether it makes sense or it doesn't make sense. But we all know that the process is very simple. When a deputy president has been removed, or a president, or when a deputy governor has been removed, the decision is taken back to them, and the governor announces, announces that he's nominating this person. The county assembly approves, and the process.
But that's under the County Governments Act. That's under the County Governments Act. In our case, the Election Act applies.
Okay. Even though, Senator Mungatana, the case that you mentioned was in Gishu, has the new deputy governor taken office? It
is up to the, Sosonko, when he was governor of Nairobi, he even refused to put in the name. And even when you put the name, again, it is up to the programs and the processes of the county assembly. If the county assembly prioritizes it, you can get your results very quickly. If the county assembly doesn't prioritize it, it can take time. So
there's actually a situation there because they've been unable to gazette that name.
And Kesi?
Sorry?
Kesi
has already finished.
I'm talking about Uasin Gishu.
Yes.
And the question is about IBC. And the reason I'm asking that, Senator Mungatana, is because if you look at the communication that came from the president, it says that as a prerequisite to the nomination, I sought and received confirmation from the Independent Electoral Boundaries Commission that the candidate herein is qualified to vie for election as a member of parliament in accordance with Article 137(1) of the Constitution.
Yes.
Can the president get confirmation from IBC
which is dead
in how it is constituted currently?
Okay, let me answer it this way. Assuming that you are supposed to get, say, which good example can I give?
You could use this particular one.
let me just say, let me just say this. Are you saying that the IBC is non-existent? It's not there.
It doesn't exist.
People are actually working. The CEO is there. There's a functional body that you can consult. You can get to know that your papers are right or wrong.
Why is Banisa seat still vacant?
No, because an election has to be carried out there. Okay.
Why aren't they carrying it out?
Because the people who are supposed to carry out the election are not there. Okay. But in this particular case, if you want to check, for example, if I'm qualified to run for Banisa, surely the CEO can tell me that information. So let us distinguish.
Why not conduct the nominations for Banisa and wait for the election to be conducted?
You see, and Kenyans who are listening to me, let us be clear, because we should use this as an opportunity to also educate people. There must not be confusion between an election and checking if I'm cleared to run for office.
Senator Mungatana, I hear what you're saying.
So that in Banisa, let's go to that Banisa. If I'm looking to run in that office, for example, I can go to the CEO and ask if I'm qualified. And
but you cannot be nominated.
And the CEO can tell me that I'm qualified.
But that information, you can't use it anywhere to run an
I can use it. I can actually say...
You cannot be a candidate, can you? I'm
not cleared to run, okay?
Yeah.
But I can check. And what did the Speaker of the National Assembly say? He read that the necessary clearances have been gotten from the Higher Education Loan Board, from the which other board?
There's KRA, there's
KRA. That is, yes, he mentioned all those, including IBC.
So what I'm asking is
the question,
so that I can hear from the other panelists.
The question I'm asking.
Let me just rephrase it.
Yeah.
If IBC is not able to conduct by elections in 4 constituencies and I think 7 wards or thereabout across the country, is IBC able to nominate a person who can actually be president?
Okay, let me give you this example. We have just been told that when we impeached the deputy governor of Kisii, Kisii County Assembly approved, and he is functional. That office has been is functional, and the vacancy doesn't exist. So, Sam, I want you to agree with me that the process for them is the same.
Okay.
Like, let me finish. It's the same as the one of the replacement of the deputy president.
All right.
So, how did they clear that deputy governor? You just cross-check, because you are not nominating for an election. And Kenyans listening to me, we are not having an election. In fact, the Constitution says very clearly that in the event that a governor, for example, is unable to perform for any bad reason or whatever happens, the deputy governor becomes that. Now we have all this, Sam. When Nairobi was changing governors, did they have to go to the IBC, to the whatever, all those processes, so long as the name is nominated and the Speaker satisfies that those processes were followed, there should be no problem. Okay. And it's the same thing that happened in Kisii.
I hear
so I want Kenyans to know that what is being done is a normal process.
Right.
The only thing that is bringing confusion is the normal thing. I lose an election, I stand up and I say my election was stolen.
All right.
So my supporters start saying our election was stolen. Okay. And yet, I'm just telling you, let us distinguish between the politics of this thing and the reality of this matter.
The reality of it. You just told me earlier on that advocates of the High Court or lawyers read law in a certain way.
He's doing it for his client.
Let me speak to another lawyer here, Honorable Njeri Maina. Your reading of that statement is specifically on the president getting confirmation from IBC that Kithure Kindiki is qualified to run for that office.
Sam, I hope you allow me the same time you allowed my senior here to controvert his issues. But what I can say is that what we have before us is a constitutional moment. The judiciary can decide to uphold the Constitution of Kenya or dispense of the Constitution of Kenya, or rather suspend the Constitution of Kenya. My senior here says that it applies in regard to what is applied at the county level. And, I'm a bit conflicted because he is well aware that there is a County Government Act that is very clear on the procedure to be followed. What we have as at now is a grey area. We have never had any impeachment proceedings under the Constitution of 2010. And it's good that he said lawyers interpret the law according to the side that they are leaning on. But let us also look at the facts. This entire process has been unprocedural, it has been unfair, it has been shambolic, to say the least. We have the Constitution here, and it is good that I have a copy, so if anyone has an issue, I can read out for them, that we have 60 days to undertake the process after proceedings at the Senate level. I mean, I saw memes Kenyans were running on social media that this government printer, whoever they are, I mean, if things were being ran that way, that the moment Senate makes a decision, within 2-5 minutes, you find a gazette notice circulating on platforms.
In the midnight.
In the midnight, Sam. And I ask, what is the rush? The issue is not who is deputy president. The issue is the procedure and the process and ensuring that the Constitution is adhered to. Because I can tell you for a fact that if we suspend the Constitution that we have, you and I, all of us, might be victims of an autocracy. Because we are all candidates as long as we are living in this nation. There's something we call the Public Appointments Act, a Parliament Act, that says that, stipulates clearly, Section 6(4), that if the process is done through a parliamentary approval, at the very least, there should be a 7-day notice on the time and place of the approval hearing.
The law you're reading?
The Public Appointment Act, parliamentary approval.
You believe Professor Kindiki should be subjected to that?
That is what I'm saying. It is the law stipulating, it is what is in the law.
But he's not being appointed, is he?
He's being?
Nominated and voted.
What do you mean he's being nominated and voted?
The president shall nominate and Parliament, National Assembly shall vote.
And this act speaks into any public appointments or any parliamentary approval procedures.
And I'm saying it's not. It's not.
But he's going through
But
parliamentary approval.
The Speaker said the name will not be subjected to Parliamentary Approval Act.
But what I'm saying, it is the law. What the Speaker was saying, like my good senior here has said, everyone interprets the law according to what side they feel is favoring them. And that is an issue that is going to be canvassed by the courts and interpreted. And my question is, Sam, why the rush? Because
so we'll get to the rush, but first of all, tell me, how is Professor Kithure Kindiki being appointed Deputy President?
And the same thing is what my senior was claiming, that apparently that the county government, the way they operate,
let's speak about Deputy President. How is Professor Kithure Kindiki
I'm coming there, Sam. Just let me walk you through it, so that you can see my line of thought. So if my senior here claims that, that even for county bosses, if an impeachment is done or DGs, they do not have to be... IBC does not have to be involved. And he claims that the secretariat in place, we know the commission is not in place. It is a matter of fact. It is information that is in the public domain. But he wants to tell us the law has not provided for a clear line in regard to what would happen if a deputy president is impeached. But then he says IBC does not have the capacity to run, let's say, or clear candidates and nominate them to run for
ward elections,
constituencies. But then he believes that they do have, as a secretariat, the mandate or capacity to clear someone who is being nominated for a seat that is a principal assistant to the President of the Republic of Kenya. I mean, it's quite contradictory even for an unlegalist. Even for the rational person out there who's just a common citizen, it doesn't add up. And we're saying these things should be done following due process. Why is due process not being followed? Why would a bench sit on a Saturday? A weekend, a bench should sit with permission from the Chief Justice. Those issues have been...
You have evidence that there was no permission from the CJ?
There was no letter that I have seen. And I can tell you, Sam, as a matter of fact, that is an issue that has been raised by the councils representing the Deputy President. And status quo is to be maintained because there are 2 court orders that are alive as we speak. We saw even over the weekend they fired the entire staff. I mean, really, do we want to go that route? Do we want to take Kenya back to the Moi era? Where are we heading as a nation? If we cannot respect the rule of law, that we swore to defend.
You have complained, I'm getting to Honorable Koech, you've complained about the rush and you're questioning why the government printer was even able or available to print out the Gazette notice at midnight. What is wrong with that? It's a newspaper, isn't it?
No.
No.
What is wrong is they want to defeat justice.
What is wrong, Sam, is that it is an unholy matrimony of various government entities to suppress the rule of law and to ensure that justice is not served. Sam, today, if you're fired and you go to a court of law to request for, and I'm not praying for you to be fired, to request for conservatory orders or even stay, that order, if it is given to you, it protects you from being what you're saying, overtaken by events.
Right.
But then if that order is not given and your employer proceeds to replace you, then if you go to the courts of law, they will tell you that this is overtaken by events. This is what the court can do as at now. So that is why you see the government printer, unprecedented in the history of this nation, working within a flash of a minute. I mean, it's like they're prompted or just somewhere they're physically being told, now, Centre has done this
finally,
within 5 minutes.
Finally, when is the right time for the government printer to publish?
During the day. Why do you need to publish it at night when unholy things are happening, when the devil is roaming the streets? I mean, really? Why do you need to publish it at... The Constitution is clear. That Parliament has 60... The devil walks at night.
Only.
The Constitution is clear that we have 60 days. 60 days, Sam.
Okay, but 1 day is also
within 60 days,
isn't it?
Yeah?
1 day is within 60 days, isn't it?
1 day is within 60 days, but... for all rationality and purposes of intention of the Constitution, it is not reasonable time.
All right, reasonable time it's not. Honorable Koech, what do you think? Because there's been all these questions. Senate made a decision just before midnight. A Gazette notice was out. Clearance was sought from KRA, HELB, IBC, sought and received. And by 10 a.m., communication had been received and was being made on the floor of the House of the decision of the President. What happened to that efficiency?
First, how do we find ourselves here? You know, why did we have this 2010 Constitution in the first place? 1998 to 1999, this country had a situation where the former President Moi decided that he was not going to have a vice president. To cure that, and it took almost a year for this country to have a vice president, to cure that, there was a provision in the Constitution, Article 145 to Article 150, to cure a situation where the country is left in a situation where there is no deputy president. We find ourselves in this situation. And I really want to laud all the agencies that have been working so fast to make sure that that office is filled as fast as possible.
Yes.
I will tell you the reason. The issue of a deputy president is not a small issue. It's an extremely weighty issue. To have a deputy president and not to have a deputy president are extremely serious issues for our country. You do not want to imagine what will happen in a situation where you do not have a president and you do not have a deputy president. Of course, the constitutions are provided for what could happen. But my view is that we need to fill that position as fast as possible. Honorable Mugatana has told you, we in the National Assembly dispensed of the matter within the period of 60 days. Perfectly okay. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. The president also nominated, as stipulated in the Constitution, within 14 days, his preferred deputy president. Parliament went further to vote. You know, overwhelmingly, 80% of members of Parliament voted in support of his nominee. And in my view, he should be in office.
What do you mean 80%?
Over 80% of members of Parliament voted in support of his nominee.
No, they didn't.
What percentage was it?
You tell me. 236.
It must be constituency.
It is.
236 is just over 66%.
Two-thirds of the national.
So that's not 80%.
Sorry,
but carry on.
I meant two-thirds. So in my view, Sam, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. there's no time stipulated, even in what the argument that my friend Mheshimiwa Kashiri is saying of a government printer working at night. That is how effective our government printer is.
I wish they were effective. I wish they were effective doing develelment, doing the roads.
We cannot cherry pick.
Please, you spoke in.
I wish they were that efficient.
We cannot cherry pick on how we want what we want in the constitution, what we want good in the constitution for ourselves, and what we do not want. I'll tell you. During the removal of Governor Sonko, it happened. Actually, the swearing in of Governor Sonko, let me even start with Honorable Waititu.
Yeah.
Governor Waititu was impeached on a Wednesday. He was supposed to have been sworn in on a Thursday. But then the judges were not ready. He was sworn in on a Friday. Governor Sonko is the same thing. He was impeached, I think, in 2020. Today, he was sworn in the next day. That is what happens because people.
No, it didn't happen like that. I think there was no deputy governor. So what happened is, what was the name of the governor had? The speaker had to assent to that. Up until something happened.
Yes,
and one Kananu became that she was validly
But the gazettement happened that night. So precedence has been set, and that is...
So that is fine. The question here is, because the president in his communication says that he got clearance from IBC, KRA, EACC, DCI, HELB, Commission on University Education, Commission for University Education. I mean, these officers, they are public servants. They work 8 to 5. When was this clearance sought?
IBC, in my view, before I even go to how it was done at night, and who tells you it was done at night, might have been done at...
So tell me, the vacancy only occurred after
in the morning. In my view, IBC, and I really want to follow on what, I'm not a lawyer, but let me say this, in my view. When we seek election as members of parliament, we normally do not appear before the commissioners. We simply get a secretariat that approves, and you go.
Who has appointed that secretariat that you appear before?
There is an secretariat in office now.
The question I'm asking,
for me, IBC...
Sorry, Mheshimiwa Koech, when you appear in Belgut to take your papers there for nomination as a member of parliament candidate, the returning officer, who has appointed that returning officer?
But now the returning officer then here will be...
Let's just answer the question.
The clerk
who appoints the returning officer in Belgut?
By that time,
by IBC. But that is an election.
IBC commissioners.
For this case, sir, in my view, I think IBC's role was purely administrative.
No, it is.
Purely administrative.
So how does the president write to IBC?
Those are the things now that I mean, what will be an issue here, Sam?
Who manages the relationship between IBC and other state agencies? Is it Marjan Hussein Marjan?
Yes.
He's the chairman.
Well,
the returning officer for the presidential candidate is the chairman of IBC.
Yeah, so allow him to finish.
So in my view, you had asked me a question, but in my view, I was just giving my input on why
on IBC.
IBC's role is pure administrative.
So are you bothered, by the way? You are a lawmaker. Are you bothered that there's no commission, or rather, there are no commissioners, and this decision has actually been received?
Extremely.
Confirmation.
Extremely.
You're bothered.
I am extremely bothered. With no constituency.
So then why would Parliament go ahead to consider a decision that is being confirmed by a body whose commission is not existent?
We are in the process of concluding that...
you already did. You voted on Professor Kindiki, didn't you?
No, that is different. I'm talking about IBC.
The decision you took when you voted for Professor Kindiki was on the premise that he had been cleared by IEBC.
By the Secretariat of IBC.
No, the communication says by IBC.
Let me ask you,
nevertheless,
Sam, yes.
Nevertheless, you have said that your returning officer in Belgut is appointed by the IBC. You believe the Secretariat, the management here, is competent enough to make that decision?
I believe, not even that, I believe that the process of clearing an individual, and like even Honorable Gachagua did say, this is a different situation. Okay? This is not an election.
All right. That's fine.
It is an election.
Even though your speaker, at the end of the vote, said that Professor Kithure Kindiki is now Deputy President-elect.
Yes.
But you got clearance from EACC, DCI, HELB, and CUE, offices that work 8 to 5. The decision by the Senate was just before midnight. When was this communication written to them, and when was it received?
Will it be wrong or probably unconstitutional if an officer of government was to clear anything outside their working hours?
At midnight?
I'm just asking you, will it be unconstitutional?
The regular working hours are 8 to 5.
Yeah, but
when were these officers mobilized?
I don't know. You know, you're talking of things that I do not know what time they happened.
So maybe that's the right answer, that you do not know.
Can I say something?
Yes, Senator.
When Honorable Speaker Wetangula was speaking and giving that statement, it was during the day.
Yeah.
So it's unfair sitting here trying to sell to the public the idea that these officers were called from their bedrooms to go and...
Of course they were.
You know,
of course they were.
Was during the day.
No.
And in the morning, you can seek clearances from anybody. Today, Sam, you want to know the status of your logbook, or you want to transfer your car, you've sold it, or you want to buy. You don't even need to go to NTSA. We are in a high-tech situation here. Yes. This country has developed. My friend, you can get anything cleared anywhere. And I'm saying logbook because everybody knows that you can get. Now, if we say we want a government that is efficient, and we all fight for that, and a government has done something very efficiently, you can't come and blame it for efficiency. You cannot approbate and reprobate. We lawyers know that that is wrong. You can't approbate and reprobate. You can't stand for this and then change.
Yeah.
So let us say this, that those clearances were properly obtained at the right time. And because this is a high-tech government, you can actually get those things done. Don't blame the government printer for being efficient. Don't blame him. Don't blame him. And I'm surprised our colleagues who represent, their elected people, represent people who want quick government services, are complaining that a government officer has done his job very well. No. Twendeni mbele, we say that this is where Kenya should be. In fact, I like that argument that says, other issues of government should be handled as fast as this.
Okay.
Yes, so we've started with one. Twendeni kwa hizi zingine sasa.
All right.
Sam, just allow me to interject.
You will, but I just wanted to read the Citizen Service Delivery Charter by the Kenya Revenue Authority. Processing of tax compliance, compliant taxpayers, individuals and non-individuals, the cost is free and the timeline is within 1 day.
Sam,
which is when 1 day lasted.
You can do it in anticipation. There's nothing wrong with that.
You know, Sam, we find ourselves in a...
You can do it in anticipation?
Yes, you can do it in anticipation. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
So the president was free to seek clearance for Professor Kindiki ahead of time?
There's absolutely nothing wrong with that.
Okay.
Sam, we find ourselves in...
he believed Rigathi Gachagua was going to be impeached?
I don't know. It's nothing to do with
Which is a very good argument that he has brought on board, that they anticipated the end and the result of Parliament vote and Senate vote. So they had anticipated already. And they were very well aware that this impeachment process, which I have said for all purposes and intent is shambolic, that it was going to end up in the impeachment of the Deputy President. Sam, just allow me to mention, we have what we call the Employment Act.
Yeah.
And it defines the working hours of public servants.
And commissions.
Some. It also, even for commissions, some, we have, if you recall very well in 2007, we had a chaotic swearing-in ceremony in the midnight of a president-elect. And that is why...
It was 5. It was 5.
No, I'm saying it was
5.
It was
evening hours.
It was late.
It was 6.
It was late.
Carry on.
And that is why we have in place what we call the Assumption of Office of the President Act. And it is quite unfortunate to see that, given the progress we have made in our legislation and in our democracy, that they still... And this government is a government that I voted for, and I am a part of this government because I'm elected under UDA ticket, that there is such ill will and intent to circumvent the law and suppress the rules of natural justice. And all this was being done to ensure that the Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua does not get to be heard by the courts of law, and that status quo is not maintained so that they can swear in the nominee as quickly as can be. And you know, you don't need an IQ of even more than 50 to see this, Sam.
Yeah.
And the public has been following closely. Even in Kirinyaga County, my people told me that they are waiting. They are waiting to see the outcome in the courts before they can make a decision on how they feel about this process. Because in the Senate, in Parliament, I mean, really.
So let me ask you, how much time is reasonable, according to you, for the President and the National Assembly to move?
I think for me, and I believe even as a general rule of practice, that is why you see the notices being said, issue a notice of 7 days. That is reasonable time. And even in regard to public participation, Sam, you remember there was a court order issued to the National Assembly to ensure that public participation is done in line with the jurisprudence in place. Public participation is not a cosmetic process. But then what the National Assembly undertook is purely a cosmetic process, you know, for the purposes of doing it. Let's do this so that, you know, we tick a box.
You mean
but then the procedure and the order, even the order was very clear. There has to be reasonable notice. Reasonable notice for all purposes and intent, even with the various legislations that we have, is normally 7 days. You have to publicize the venue. You have to publicize the time.
You're not talking about the impeachment motion?
I am talking about the proceedings of the impeachment at the National Assembly level.
So you're saying the public participation should be 7 days?
No, I'm saying reasonable notice. I'm giving you an example of what reasonable notice would be, right?
But according to the interpretation
of the Supreme Court,
the special motion has to be considered within 7 days.
No, I have said according to general practice. But those 7 days, even if you give 2 days notice, Sam, or 3 days notice, that is in order. But then we saw the process done within, you know, it's like we were just, there was such hurry to do it. And it beats the purpose. And that is why I say the entire process is shambolic, because it is shrouded in mystery and ill will and ill intent. And that is what any Kenyan has read from this process.
Okay.
I haven't talked for long.
Sorry, Senator Manzo. What did you want to say?
On this particular one, I think a new jurisprudence be developed. One, you cannot make the removal of a deputy president or a president simpler than the removal of even a member of parliament.
Yeah.
Even to remove a member of parliament, signatures have to be done and all these things, and it has to eventually be declared by the court. Mm-hmm. So the declaration in this case is done by IBC. Unfortunately, we have no IBC, and therefore the declaration by the president is illegal, null and void.
Yeah.
And again also, without IBC then, you cannot have a new nominee.
Okay.
You cannot have a new nominee because the IBC have a role, which is under the Election Act. And therefore, the whole process as of now, and I believe the courts will come up with this jurisprudence for the future of the...
But let me ask you, Senator, if the Constitution, the premise of the Constitution wanted IBC to clear a replacement of for a deputy president, wouldn't they have indicated there that the president has to get clearance from IBC?
It is in the Election Act.
But the Constitution is supreme.
The Constitution allows other laws related to election. You see,
Article 149.
You see, once you have an article dealing with election, because you see, I want to draw you with the analogy the Speaker spoke of. Even the people going to Yela, they go through the same process. They have to be cleared by IBC. The people, so that election
is okay.
Election of a deputy president was likened.
Sure. I'm not sure the members of parliament of Iela are covered in the Constitution directly, are they?
This is a vote by National Assembly.
But it's not.
It's a vote by Parliament.
Is it?
And while the Speaker was
different law.
No. It's the same law. It's an election.
I'm saying that
it's only that the representatives of the people now elect the representatives to Yela.
I'm saying the legislators of Yela are not covered in the Constitution of Kenya, are they?
They are under the Election Act. That's why they are elected from Parliament.
It's not the Constitution.
Yeah, but they do exist.
Yes, they exist. I'm just saying that it's not. You'll not find an article speaking about election of a member of parliament to ELA, but you'll find how to replace a deputy president when the vacancy occurs in Article 149,
yes,
which does not expressly talk about IBC.
No, it goes to the Election Act, and the Election Act is the one which brings in IBC.
Okay. Now, I want us to listen to something that the Deputy President said, explaining his situation of what happened on Thursday afternoon that he was not able to appear before the Senate.
I was under a lot of pain and shortness of breath. And I found Dr. Gachagua and his team of paramedics were waiting for me and quickly examined me. And he quickly made a decision that I must be admitted immediately for observation and possible treatment. And in fact, after I stabilized, he did tell me that had I been late for another 20 minutes, we'll be talking a different story today.
That is the Deputy President explaining the situation that happened, that he was not able to appear in the afternoon session at the Senate. But he has also said something else that I want us to listen to about President William Ruto being vicious.
Especially now when I'm in hospital, crippling me, treating me like an animal. I think he wanted to take me the Matiba route. But God is gracious. It didn't happen that way. I hear many of his people are calling here asking whether I'm dead, whether I'll survive, whether I'll recover. They were celebrating.
He also said something else. I'll get to you, Honorable Senator Mungatana. He also said something else about his fears for his life and that of the family.
And if anything happens to me or my family, President William Ruto must be held to account. Do whatever you want, but let me live. Let me look after my children. You can do whatever you want with the country, but allow me to live.
Senator, you've not been very comfortable in your seat as
I'm not, because what is being said there, and I can say it to other Kenyans. I was seated, the row behind me was where there's... you can almost, if you take the pictures, you can almost see where because the seats where the lawyers, Muite and Tom Masharia, and they were very near me, and the DP, they were very near me. So I'm not very comfortable with these assertions. But you see, when it comes to issues of sickness, you cannot really, because you can't really go deep into it. But let us look at the facts. This is a person who was asked by the Speaker himself, Amason King, you have stood for too long. Do you want maybe to consider taking a seat? He says...
That was a day before.
Yes. He says what? I will stand. Stood. This is a person who is also well known that he takes his physical activities very seriously. Okay? So... again, this is the same person that went to his office from Bunge, not being carried by anything. You know, nothing was suggesting. I mean, there's no ambulance. There was nothing suggesting anything terrible. That's why when
does the absence of an ambulance?
No, I'm just telling you, Sam. That. I'm telling you the mood of the House. That is when Senior Counsel Muite, who is also a former member and a person we highly regard, when he came to tell us that he cannot locate his client. Listen to this. He cannot locate his client. We give him time. So he even didn't come to say that he's sick. He said he cannot locate his client. And the Hansard can bear me out.
Sure.
So... but we are not saying that, you know, I'm not a medical person, so I will not. But ordinarily, as a person, as a layman in those situations, and being a very honest Christian, if somebody is in those kind of situations, there are signs which will be there, like an ambulance and whatever, the ordinary thing. When you hear that kind of siren, you know this is a very serious matter, and everyone stops. Anyway, that notwithstanding, we treated the deputy president with the highest respect in the Senate. In fact, we didn't even question senior counsel Paul Mwite. We didn't even ask for any material to be provided, like a medical report.
Right.
And when senior counsel Mwite, we highly respect him because he was also a member of our house. And if you remember, also a former presidential candidate and a person we also looked up to for many years. So when he came and said, actually, I need more time.
Yeah.
I need to find out what is happening and give me up to 5. We all waited, you know, there was a bit of what should we do, what this has never happened, what, but then the speaker then guided the House that we shall wait up to 5. And when counsel came and told us that now he's not able to proceed because his client has been taken ill, again, we didn't question. I think the only person who raised the issue was Honorable Senator Governor Orengo, counsel for the National Assembly, when he said that giving evidence from the bar, like lawyers, you know, you're not supposed to issue evidence from the bar. You're supposed to actually give the documentation. So he raised that. But that notwithstanding, we all treated His Excellency, the Deputy President, with a lot of respect.
So why did...
Now, let me go back to answering
the Senate agree to have a sitting on 19th?
Sitting on 19th?
Yes,
it was a proposal.
There was a proposal.
It was just a proposal that voted on. Now, Sam, let me tell you.
Yeah.
It is not... And let's just be fair. The minority will have their say. The majority will have their way. That is how our democracy is. If we agree that these are the rules of the game in football, that when I come and I score, it is a goal to me. You can't say that when I come and I score, you say it's not a goal. You know, just because I've scored against...
So, Senator, how important was the Deputy President to take the stand?
Listen.
Yep.
Listen. And I'm not saying this whatever, but we also had that he was advised not to come because people were prepared. You know, the cross-examination that Honorable Mutuse went through, it was going to be double that. The questioning, that the clarifications we are going to do, we were going to be double what Honorable Mutuse went. And he was
who said
advised.
That? Who said that he was advised not to come?
No, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
He was advised, and I think...
by who?
Now, let me not go into that, but he was advised. So
how did that influence your decision not to have a sitting on 19th?
Now, don't mix those two, Sam, you know.
No, you're saying that let
me tell you.
Yeah.
The decision to vote was taken by the House, okay? When the House sits and moves a motion, it's not the Speaker.
Sure.
It is the House.
But
the motion was put down there.
Yep.
And then we voted as a House that
and we all watched, and by majority.
So what is the problem with that? If
there's
you don't there's no problem. If you don't like the processes,
Senator Mungatana,
Sam,
it's not about what I like or I don't.
No,
it's about
let us follow the Constitution.
Right.
There are processes of Parliament, just like there are processes of the executive and there are processes in the court. As a member of the Senate, I cannot go to where the judge is sitting and start directing him, do this or do that. Give a mention, don't give a mention. Let the matter proceed tomorrow, let the matter... I can't. Even if it's a matter affecting...
Sure.
So, in the same manner, when I'm making a decision as a Senate, or a National Assembly, you cannot question that. You wait until when it comes before you, you can question. Now, like the way it is in court. But don't start, implying things.
Senator Mungata, it's interesting that you're not liking the questions because I'm
trying to get to the question. You are intervening because let me tell you.
So
on the issue of the sickness, I'm trying to tell you. That those indications were not there, but he accepted what counsel.
And you have said that he was advised not to show up.
No, I'm just telling you that that is information I received.
That he cannot prove. He has alleged, but I am certain, and he knows as a lawyer, he who alleges must prove. He says it's information he received. And such...
So let me just say, that is beyond, let's not argue that point, because he didn't come. The issue is he didn't come.
Okay.
So let's go to this other thing. He says he's being treated like an animal.
Yes.
How is he being treated like an animal, surely? And then he brings in the issue of President William Ruto. You are dealing with the Senate. Why are you bringing the president in?
Okay.
You are given the opportunity. Your lawyers are there. How is the president? The president is not a member of the
Senator
Senate.
Mungata,
I don't know why, Sam, you don't want to give me time to explain.
You've been speaking.
No, you're not giving me time. You're not
I'll
giving me time to answer this question.
Let me hear first from Honorable Kwame.
And then he's talking about the fear of
Senator
his family.
Mungatana, I'll give an opportunity. We'll get back to that.
We never attack as a point of fact.
Yeah.
There are unwritten rules about members of parliament and people in the political class.
Yeah.
You never, ever, I would never interfere with his children, with his wife. That is a no-go zone. We never do that.
All right.
But you have done it now.
Never do that.
Sorry, Senator. Let's hear from Honorable Koech.
Hizi ni maneno za sympathy. That is the truth.
No.
He's seeking sympathy.
He's seeking sympathy.
Honorable Koech, what do you make of all these developments? Because a lot of sentiments, you can hear some of the thinking or information that Senator Mungatana is saying that they had on Thursday before concluding the hearing and taking the vote. What do you make of it?
Sam, you know, first of all, citizens need to be paying me. Because I foresighted all this. In fact, if you remember, I told Mheshimiwa Manzo that Honorable Gachagua will be impeached. And it came to pass.
When did you tell him that?
It's on this show.
This show.
And he can even remind you. I was with him here, and I told him that he will be impeached, not because of any reason, but because of utterances that are made. You know, some people don't understand the role of the deputy president. I think former deputy president did not really understand his role as a deputy president. It's not a simple job like you think. His was a high class case of gross insubordination, if you may ask me. Statements that he made, you know, his tone, his demeanor was not that of a deputy president. And it was long coming, and I saw it coming, and it came to pass. Now, Sam, the deputy president has said that the president should spare his life and that of his family, should provide him with security. Why is he filing more than 40 cases in court to go back to the same person he has accused of trying to harm him and his family? Number two, he has made serious and grave allegations against the security infrastructure of this country, including the National Intelligence Service, that he says that he twice was almost poisoned, one in Kisumu and the other one in Nyeri. Why then again should you have a problem when your security was withdrawn from you and they are the same security that you've accused of trying to poison you? These are doublespeak, in my view. And let me tell you, like Honorable Mungatana did say, no one, and I can tell you this, and when I speak, and I, like last time, I speak with a lot of authority, no one has an interest in touching the family of Honorable Gachagua.
How do you know that with certainty?
Has an interest. Because I know these are just sympathy-whipping statements. Let me tell you, Sam, do you know what it means to touch the person of... first of all, why will there be an interest to harm him? So that what happens? Why will there be an interest? If this country, and that is why in this country, and I've even said it in this show, in this country, our politics has been that one of respecting each other, even when we differ. We've never had an assassination in Kenya. Why? Like we have in other West African countries. Why? It is because people in this country do not want to go that route. Immediately you start doing those things, then it becomes the norm. People, we don't want to get into that situation. And
you don't believe his claims that there was times, or rather his food was poisoned 2 times, Kisumu and Nyeri?
That is his statement. But my question will be, why did he not raise it with the National Security Council? Where is it? Let me tell you, this is not a deputy president who can keep quiet if something was to happen to him. It is there. He speaks. It is not one deputy president who can today have an attempt of his life and he keeps quiet about it. He will have been screaming. If I can tell you that. So all those things are meant to earn him sympathy. I will tell you, no one has
sympathy to what end?
No one has made an attempt, in my view. And I'm happy that today the Director of Criminal Investigations have invited him, because that is a grave allegation that has been made against our security organs.
Yep.
So that he can go and make a statement on what he knows about it. But in my view, looking at his character and and the condemnation he has had before on the National Intelligence Service, even going further to attack the apex of the National Intelligence Service in the person of Nordin Haji, tells you clearly that this is a person who's had a fight with our security agencies from day one. He came out guns blazing. He made serious scathing attacks on our security agencies, made serious attacks on the judiciary, has made serious attack on anyone who he thinks is his enemy. In my view, the Deputy President has no threat to his life whatsoever.
Interesting. I want us to...
Other than his illness and the chest pain.
Sam, if I may.
No, I want us to take a short break. We'll be back shortly. But there's a pending question that I wanted Honorable Koech to respond to, which he will after the break. You're watching Daybreak, and this is an important day when we're expecting a bench of the High Court to sit to mention cases challenging the impeachment of Rigathi Gachagua. Stay tuned.